Tory voters did this. Homelessness up 60%, rough sleeping up 134%, food bank use up 400%, child poverty now at 4 million. We all know what the Tories are doing. Please stop aiding and abetting them. Now, we all blame the politicians, and they are a corrupt bunch of self-serving scumbags. But let's not forget, some out there actually voted for these criminals. So, yeah, some are to blame. Some out there are to blame. Not you lot, because I know you lot wouldn't vote for this piece of shit. In fact, I know most of you lot aren't even on the voters register, and that's a good thing. If all, all them that voted for the Tories, or voted for anyone, had just come off the voters register, the system would collapse. Because it needs a mandate of enough being on the voters register, and unfortunately there's still enough on there. Get off the voters register and we can end this evil corruption. Without government, who would charge you to drive on roads you already paid for? You are not gluten intolerant, you are glyphosate intolerant. Study blames Roundup herbicide for gluten intolerance and celiac disease epidemic. Celiac disease and more generally gluten intolerance is a growing problem worldwide, but especially in North America and Europe, where an estimated 5% of the population now suffer from it. Researchers wrote a meta-analysis of nearly 300 studies. Here we propose that glyphosate, the active ingredient in the herbicide Roundup, is the most important causal factor in the epidemic, they added. We're being poisoned, simple. Brexit. UK could quit EU without paying a penny, say Lords. Report says British government has no legal obligation to pay for Brexit or outstanding payments to EU budget. The UK could walk away from the European Union in 2019 without paying a penny, the House of Lords has said. In a report bound to raise tension with Brussels in the run-up to Brexit talks, the British government would have no legal obligation to either pay a €60 billion, £52 billion Brexit bill mooted at by the European Commission or honour payments into the EU budget promised by the former Prime Minister David Cameron, the pig. According to analysis by the House of Lords EU Financial Affairs Subcommittee. You see, we can walk away and not pay them a penny. That's over £50 billion we could spend on this country if the treasonous government didn't give it away to other countries, of course. Police officer charged with having sex with his own dog and filming it. Bossier City Police officer Terry Yetman, 38, faces 4 counts of animal abuse after the sick video came to light. A police officer has been charged with animal abuse after a library of videos allegedly showing him having sex with his own dog was uncovered. These sick bastards need putting down. Civil war. Swedish citizens rise up to protest globalism. The people of Sweden protest against political elite as Yellow Vest movement spreads. Meanwhile, in the UK, Coronation Street's on. Citizens across Sweden have begun rising up to protest globalism in solidarity with hundreds of thousands of French protesters. As the anti-globalist movement continues to sweep across Europe, the people of Sweden took to the streets of Stockholm over the weekend protesting the UN Migration Pact. France's Yellow Vest movement has also spread to at least 3 other European countries as citizens in Belgium, Germany and Ireland have started protesting. Of course, you protest, they're basically acting as a child. You need to do direct action. Not protest, direct action. Anger as NHS hospitals scrap free parking for the sick and disabled. Labour slams stealth tax on the sick and disabled and pledged to abolish the charges in government. Yeah, but we don't want them because they're just as bunch of crooked bastards as the Tories. Union bosses and the Labour Party have responded angrily to news that hospitals are abolishing free parking for sick patients and people with diabetes. The Mirror reports that Lancashire Teaching Hospital Trust introduced the controversial policy just days before Christmas, with dialysis patients and carers among those who will be affected by the cruel decision. And Nottinghamshire University Hospital Trust, which the Mirror claims made 3.6 million from parking charges last year, are scrapping free parking for blue badge holders from January next year. The NHS Trust claim the charges are about pricing equality, but Labour's Shadow Health Minister Jonathan Ashworth MP linked the move to a stealth tax on the sick and disabled. When will enough be enough? For me, it was enough 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago, when I could see where we were going. France and Germany, the new dictators of Europe, order the EU states to open up borders for mass migration. EU states must pay fee if they don't accept refugees. It's a dictatorship, plain and simple. Since the European migrant crisis started back in 2015, there has been growing tension among EU members regarding asylum seekers and who will take them. The massive influx of refugees to places like Italy, who reportedly turned boats of migrants away and sent them to European Union allies, has instilled public discontent over Brussels' immigration policy. Now European Union member states who, like Italy, refuse to take refugees will have to pay a fee to EU budget or towards development projects in Africa, according to a report presented by France and Germany. Or we just leave Europe without paying a penny, lock down the borders and repatriate those that have come here since 2000. Theresa May forced Grenfell investigators to lie about the cause of the fire so she wouldn't look bad. Theresa May visited the burnt-out ruin of Grenfell Tower shortly after the tragedy took place alongside firefighters. Did she warn them not to accuse her too? What's worse, the group who built and burned an effigy of Grenfell Tower with windows depicting Muslims and black people are the Prime Minister who forced investigators into the cause of the real Grenfell Tower blaze to sign an agreement not to do anything to make her look bad. Okay, sorry, trick question. It's quite clearly Theresa May. She saw the creation of a model of the destroyed Tower Black Block and its burning in an effigy by racists was abhorrent. But more abhorrent is the fact that she got them to lie so that she wouldn't look bad, because she's guilty as sin. In fact, she's a dirty Police admit reporting disabled anti-fracking protesters to DWP to have their benefits cancelled. Discrimination. The man on the floor is Nick Sheldrick, who is paralysed from the waist down. Protesters say police pushed him over out of his wheelchair during an anti-fracking protest in Lancashire during July 2017. Police said they were moving him out of the way of a lorry, but they wouldn't they? Oh, okay. Is this fascism? Yes. People with disabilities who exercise their right to protest against anti-fracking in accordance with the United Nations Convention are being reported to the Department of Work and Pensions by Lancashire Police, apparently in the hope that their benefits will be cancelled as punishment for daring to leave their homes. The police are not fit for purpose. They are also now traitors to humanity. Gatwick drones pair no longer suspects. A man and woman arrested in connection with a drone sighting that grounded flights at Gatwick Airport have been released without charge. The 47-year-old, 11, 4 and 7, 11, and the 54-year-old, 9, 11 there, woman were arrested on Friday night on suspicion of criminal use of drones. Flights were suspended for more than 36 hours when the device was first spotted close to a runway on Wednesday night. Sussex police said the pair were no longer suspects. Detective Chief Superintendent Jason Tingley said, "Both people have fully cooperated with our inquiries, and I am satisfied that they are no longer suspects in the drone incidents at Gatwick." City demonstration. Hundreds take to Dublin streets in yellow vest protests against failures of Irish government. You see, it's every single government is corrupt. Every single government is a dictatorship. We need to get rid of governments and, of course, councils. In solidarity with the French yellow vest demonstrations, a group called Yellow Vest Island took to the streets on Saturday afternoon. Hundreds have attended a yellow vest protest in the centre of Dublin against the perceived failures of the Irish government. In solidarity with the French yellow vest demonstrators, a group called Yellow Vest Island took to the streets on Saturday afternoon. And I've got to say, just judging from the picture, there looks more than hundreds there, so I guess the lying papers are doing their job again. George Soros and international networks behind violent protests in Hungary, Prime Minister says. No one can be allowed to engage in violence, Prime Minister Viktor Orban said in an interview to the public broadcast Kossuth Radio on Friday, referring to the recent anti-government demonstrations. You see, it's anti-government everywhere because everybody's realising the government are dictators that just rob us to death. The Prime Minister said a clear line must be drawn between the expression of one's political views and vandalism. The movement continues. 6th consecutive weekend of Yellow Vest protests in Paris. The protests on Saturday were calm and respectable, but as the day progressed, things began to disintegrate as police officers began using force against the Yellow Vest protesters near the Montmartre district. So, who caused the problems? The police. Rape gangs are still ravaging Britain, and it's worse than ever before. There's a world outside your window, and it's a world of dread and fear. The only thing that is growing is the bitter rape of the young, vulnerable British girls. As you read these words this festive season, thank God it's them instead of you. Rape gangs right now, as you read this, are still blighting Britain and destroying the lives of thousands of girls across the UK. And the government is complicit. Yarrow herb is stronger than DEET at repelling mosquitoes and ticks and is completely non-toxic. Natural news article. We're approaching summer bug season in many parts of the northern hemisphere, which is in addition to sun and fun means lots of smelly insects repellent wafting through the air. The standard chemical ingredient in many conventional bug sprays is DEET, a neurotoxic chemical that, although it seems to work against annoying critters, is also working against you and your family's health. But you have a friend in Yarrow herb, which just so happens to work better than DEET at repelling insects without causing harmful side effects. And the article will be, the link to the article will be at the end for you if you want to find out more about that and read the full article. Swedish doctor of theology, Islamism is evil and it's time we change our attitude. Theorist Anne Herbelin warns in Swedish newspaper Nyheter Idag for the dangers of Islamism. Evil, wrote Hannah Arendt, in responsibility and judgment are things that make us think this should not have happened. In the midst of Christmas preparations, evil is making itself known. First, as an act of terror at a Christmas market in Strasbourg, a man shooting irrationally straight into a group of people, and yeah, it goes on. But let's not forget that Christmas is it's basically a satanic time, and if you doubt me, just look at Santa. Rearrange 2 letters and you've got Satan. Police probe far-right Yellow Vest group that intimidated Anna Soubry. She's the MP for Bilborough, I think, and she's an utter stupid bitch. Met officers believe men who accosted MP outside Parliament committed public order offence. Bullshit. They were just asking simple questions as to why she's pro-European. In other words, a traitor to Britain. Police are investigating a group of far-right members of the UK's embryonic Yellow Vest movement who accosted the Conservative MP Anna Soubry outside Parliament and called her a traitor, the Observer can reveal. So they called her what she is. Senior Met officers have studied the group's own video which shows them harassing a pro-Remain MP and believe a public order offence may have been committed. Yeah, because you can't view your rights to a traitor, can you? Universal credit is making it harder for parents to get back into work as thousands are waiting months to receive childcare repayments. Work and Pensions Committee criticised Universal Credit Children's System. Parents are waiting weeks and months after trying to claim costs back. Committee heard Frank Field said it was preventing people finding work. Parents are being kept out of work by the government's universal credit system over childcare payments, a committee has claimed. A report by the Work and Pension Committee on making parents pay for childcare costs up front and then claim reimbursement from the government can leave households waiting weeks or even months to get cash back. The cross-party committee group of MPs and member of paedophiles research says that some 100,000 households, including the poorest, will receive less for their childcare costs than under the legacy system. It's more treason, you know, it's the same shit's going on, and why we allow it? I don't know. Why aren't we on the streets demanding that the treasonous bastards in Parliament are locked up? But maybe we just don't give a shit. This is bullshit. Discredited Dr. Andrew Wakefield. Now, I would change that to honest Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who falsely claimed MMR jabs lead to autism, is handed Bad Science Award 20 years after his fatally flawed report was published. In actual fact, he's telling the truth, and it's common knowledge that vaccinations cause autism. Andrew Wakefield was banned from being a doctor in the UK in 2010. His so-called research has been called fraudulent and fatally flawed by the establishment, of course. The Skeptic magazine said his work has led to a rise in measles across Europe. Bullshit! He saved lives because others have realised that vaccines are poison, a depopulation plan. So the man's a hero, not as these are trying to portray him. Andrew Wakefield, a former gastroenterologist who is now believed to be in a relationship with the model Ella Macpherson, has been awarded the Rusty Razor Award for pseudoscience by magazine The Skeptic. Now, talking about skeptics, me and Kev Marks, you've seen him, we went to the Skeptic Society. Yeah, believe it, there is a Skeptic Society. And they were talking about cancer, and the woman doing the talk was all for cancer research, so she's establishment cancer, and they were all clapping her saying, great, well done, yeah, let's get some more chemo shit. Skeptic Society, they wouldn't know the difference. Oh, they were just a bunch of idiots, total idiots. We waited halfway through, couldn't take any more of the utter bullshit the woman was talking about, and left. Woman threatened with rape and murder after saying Islam should submit to French laws and criticism. France, besieged by Muslim migrants, is already de facto living under Islamic law, and it's not just France, it's all EU countries. The idea that Zineb El Razoui is threatened with rape and death for saying that Muslims in France should live by French law is a sign that Islamic law, not Western law, holds sway in France. French authorities should have rushed to protect her, but they probably didn't want to risk appearing to be Islamophobic. And elsewhere, it's the same story. I am banned from the UK, but jihad hate preachers come and go as they please. The West is laying down. No, the governments, the traitorous governments, treacherous, treasonous bastards all over Europe, governments are the problem. Get rid of the problem, we get rid of the problem. Macron calls for order after Yellow Vests attacks on police. What a crock of bullshit. I watched a video yesterday of a British guy in France interviewing a student of one of the Yellow Vest guys. And they were saying that it's not just Paris, it's all over France. Everyone has had enough, but the papers are reporting it's just an isolated thing because they don't want it spreading any further, even though it's already spread. It's over in Ireland, it's even in the UK, it's in America, it's all over Europe. The public have had enough of the treasonous bastards in Parliament, and it's time we rose up and did something about it. Paris, French police defend pulling out gun against protesters. So here, you've got cops with guns pulling guns on them. That is a crime in itself. French authorities on Sunday defended aggressive police actions to contain violence at Yellow Vest protests after policemen were seen briefly brandishing a gun at surging crowds in Paris. French President, traitor, puppet to the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, Emmanuel Macron called for the most severe legal repercussions against violent protesters after a 6th straight weekend of demonstrations by the... Continue reading, blah, blah, blah. So, because they've had enough of the treason, they can see that Macron is a traitor, and they're rightly standing up against it, unlike Britain, who is too busy watching Coronation Street. You've got to admire the French. They stand up when they see something wrong, unlike the British, who are too busy watching Coronation Street. Why Italy could join the UK in race out of the EU. Few in the United States know it if they watch the news, but in recent weeks France has been rocked by some of its most severe civil unrest since 1968, in a country as famous for its civil unrest as for its cuisine. This is a big story from France. Yeah, just all the same. Italy probably will leave because they've had enough of the bullshit. Police tell BBC News they cannot discount the possibility that there may have been no drone at all at Gatwick. So if there was no drone, it's all a false flag then. Gatwick drone latest. Police say it's a possibility there was never a drone. Social worker could be struck off after faking evidence in child case. Disciplinary panel will judge whether Bristol social worker can continue to practice after foster care. A social worker has appeared before a professional disciplinary panel after she was found by a judge to have fabricated evidence to bolster the case for removing a child from the mother's care, and then lied in court about having done so. So that is perjury. So whether, well, obviously she shouldn't be allowed to be a social worker anyway, but she should go to prison. And if all social workers that have lied ended up in prison, they'd stop bleeding lying. Birmingham Airport. Flights halted amid air traffic control fault. Flights have been suspended at Birmingham Airport due to an air traffic control fault. Passengers are being advised to check departures and arrivals as flights are being diverted from the airport. Last I heard about this, it's all been sorted out and it can continue again. It's back to normal. Paedophile stripped of his British citizenship and facing deportation to India. A paedophile who groomed and raped a 7-year-old child has been stripped of his British citizenship and faces deportation to India. He should go to prison for 10 years first and then be deported. Or be deported and hopefully put in prison in India. Because I've got some Indian friends and they've been to India a couple of years ago and they said it's way too hot there. Millionaire Grace Mugabe leaves workers on her Zimbabwe farm without pay. Well, Mugabe was apparently an evil man, so I'm guessing she's just carrying on in the same stance. The scum. There was no drone. All Si wants for Christmas is Bruno. Holly in the Nighty. Royal Crimbo exclusive. Cheapskate. Humble Duchess buys gifts in bargain store. Mirror. Queen. Goodwill needed now as much as ever. By the way, I'm just off to rape some children and then drink their blood and adrenochrome. Enders Christmas sparks a right cat fight. Gatwick security force shambolic. Cops now say it may not have been a drone. Family tell of freed couple's nightmare. The Guardian. Revealed the care workers fined £50 for being unwell. The nation's pays $1,000 more after tsunami hits Indonesia. Police examining drone found near Gatwick. So either was a drone or there wasn't a drone. Express. Hundreds die in tsunami. The lizard calls for respect in Christmas message. May's plea for united front on Brexit. Not with that treasonous cow. Let's pull together and seal EU deal, then focus on domestic issues, says PM. No, let's leave. Actually leave. Do what was voted for and leave Europe. Mystery over drone attack as couple are freed. The Times. Hundreds dead in beach resort as volcano triggers tsunami. Queen delivers message of goodwill to all. Gatwick drone attack farce. Device may not have existed in first place, say police. Couple exonerated after being questioned for 36 hours. Wasted paper Star. Hundreds dead in tsunami. Jesse's spice mix. Was there no drone attack? War on Christmas dinner. Health killjoys order curb on festive fear. Daily fail. Innocent couple held over Gatwick chaos after freed after 36 hours. Now police admit there may not have been a drone at all. Utter clueless. Queen's plea for unity on Brexit. On non-existent Brexit. Telegraph. Johnson. 20 reasons to be cheerful this Christmas. Queen's UK must overcome deeply held differences. Boy 2 among migrants rescued in Channel. Respect each other as human beings, she says in Christmas address before Brexit. More than 200 dead in tsunami in Indonesia. High Street faces more pain after shares fall. Police, we can be sure there was a drone. Google must act on suicides. How well do you know how MS affects families, the youngest carer of the Maccabi star. Emergency talks to stop more drone attacks, but there wasn't a drone attack. It was bullshit. It was a false. Devastating tsunami strikes Indonesia. He was devoted to and loved his country. Tributes to, High Street woe means sales start early. Emergency talks to stop more drone attack. Ministers will hold summit today on how to tighten security at airports across Britain after chaos at Gatwick. Government accused of ignoring warnings from pilots after air traffic controllers. Hunt for rogue drone operator continues as police release couple questioned at the weekend. Financial Times. Liberalism is in crisis. Market forces have left too many behind. Goldman and 1MBDB, the star banker, are at the heart of a scandal. The art of craftiness of the Christmas rota. Indonesia grief search goes on after tsunami. Trump's new chief of staff warns of shutdown dragging on next year. Mulvaney points to wall impasse. Standoff hits now an agency's defence chief appointed. May cut cabinet holiday short in show of strength for Brexit war of attrition. Escape routes clogged for homeless Europeans. Well, what a crock of shit, the papers, eh?